There is a moment happening right now, in this very second, where something inside you already knows this message is not an accident. You did not stumble onto this video by chance. Something greater than coincidence brought you here, and if you feel a quiet stirring in your chest as you read these words, that is not your imagination. That is heaven, gently knocking on the door of your soul, whispering, "Do not ignore this sign." You have felt it before, haven't you? That strange pull, that inexplicable nudge that made you pause in the middle of your day. Maybe it was a number you kept seeing over and over, appearing on clocks, on receipts, on license plates, until it felt less like repetition and more like a message written just for you. Maybe it was a song that played at exactly the right moment, carrying words that mirrored the very prayer you whispered the night before. Maybe it was a stranger who said something so specific, so unexpectedly comforting, that it felt like they were channeling someone else's voice entirely. These are not coincidences. These are heaven's fingerprints, left gently across your life, waiting for you to notice. And here is the truth that so many people never stop long enough to hear. Heaven does not shout. It does not force its way into your life. It does not demand your attention the way the noise of the world does. Instead, it whispers. It nudges. It sends feathers floating on windless days and butterflies that land beside you and stay far longer than instinct should allow. It sends dreams so vivid you wake up with tears on your cheeks, though you cannot remember exactly why. Heaven speaks in symbols, because love does not need to be loud to be real. And if you have been feeling like something is trying to reach you, trying to tell you something important, I want you to know today that you are not imagining it. You are not losing your mind. You are simply becoming aware. So many of us walk through our days on autopilot, rushing from one obligation to the next, drowning out the soft voice of spirit with deadlines, notifications, arguments, and endless noise. We convince ourselves that if something is meant for us, it will arrive with fireworks, with unmistakable clarity, with a voice from the sky. But that is not how the sacred usually works. The sacred is subtle, the sacred is patient, and the sacred has been trying to reach you for far longer than you realize. Think back, just for a moment, to a time when you had a strong feeling not to do something, and you ignored it, and things went wrong exactly the way that feeling warned you they would. Or think of a time you felt pulled toward a place, a person, a decision, without any logical explanation, and later you understood exactly why. That was not luck. That was not your subconscious playing tricks on you. That was guidance. That was your soul, connected to something infinite, trying to protect you, guide you, and lead you exactly where you needed to be. The reason this message matters so much right now is because so many people ignore these signs until it is too late. Not too late in the sense of punishment, because heaven does not punish, but too late in the sense of missed opportunity, missed alignment, missed peace. How many people look back on their lives and say, "I had a feeling I shouldn't have taken that job," or "something told me not to trust that person," or "I felt like I should have called them one more time before they were gone." These regrets are not simply hindsight. They are evidence that the sign was there all along. The whisper was real. The nudge was real. And when we silence that inner knowing to please others, to stay comfortable, or to avoid change, we disconnect from the very guidance that was placed in us to protect and elevate our lives. But here is the beautiful part of this message, the part I need you to receive deep in your heart today. It is never too late to start listening. Wherever you are right now, whatever chapter of your life you are standing in, heaven has not given up on reaching you. In fact, the very fact that you are watching this, that these words are landing on your spirit in this exact moment, is proof that you are being reached right now. Close your eyes for a moment if you can, and think about the last few weeks of your life. Has there been a repeating thought that won't leave you alone? A person who keeps coming to mind, out of nowhere, for reasons you cannot explain? A feeling of restlessness, as though you are being called towards something bigger than your current circumstances, even if you don't yet know what that something is? These are not random neurological events. These are invitations. Heaven is inviting you to pay attention, to slow down, to stop dismissing what your heart already senses to be true. There is an old spiritual teaching that says angels never interfere with your free will, but they will always try to get your attention. They cannot force a locked door open, but they will knock softly again and again, hoping you will choose to answer. And so, if your life lately has felt filled with strange timing, unexpected encounters, or a persistent inner voice urging you toward change, toward healing, toward forgiveness, toward letting go of something or someone who no longer serves your growth, please understand, this is not random. This is divine timing revealing itself through the language of signs. I want to tell you about a woman, someone very much like you, who spent years feeling disconnected from her purpose. She worked a job that drained her, stayed in relationships that dimmed her light, and constantly felt like life was happening to her rather than for her. One night, overwhelmed and exhausted, she sat outside beneath the stars and quietly asked, almost without hope, "If you're really there, please show me a sign that I'm not alone." The very next morning, a white feather appeared on her doorstep. Though there were no birds nearby, no trees, nothing that could explain its presence, she almost dismissed it, almost laughed it off as nothing. But something told her to keep it. She placed it in a small box by her bed, and from that day forward, feathers began appearing in the most unexpected places, on sidewalks, inside books, on car seats, always at the exact moments she needed reassurance the most. She began to notice that whenever these feathers appeared, difficult situations resolved themselves peacefully, opportunities emerged out of nowhere, and doors that seemed permanently closed slowly began to open. She did not become someone new overnight, but she began to trust. And that trust changed everything. This is what heaven wants for you too, in this exact moment. Not because you are special above others, but because every single soul on this earth is deeply, unconditionally loved, and heaven longs for each of us to feel that love directly, personally, undeniably. The signs you have been noticing are not tests. They are invitations to remember who you are, where you come from, and how deeply you are supported, even when life feels heavy, even when you feel forgotten, even when the silence feels overwhelming. If you have been going through a season of confusion, heartbreak, exhaustion, or feeling like you are constantly one step behind in life, I need you to hear this clearly. None of what you are feeling has gone unnoticed by heaven. Every tear you have cried in private, every prayer whispered through clenched teeth in the middle of the night, every moment you have felt utterly alone, heaven has seen it all. And the sign that brought you to this video right now is proof that you are being answered. Do not ignore this sign. Do not brush this feeling aside as coincidence or convenience. Something inside you knew to click on this message today, and that same something has been trying to speak to you for a long time. The question is no longer whether heaven is reaching out to you. The question is whether you are finally ready to listen, to trust, and to let this message change the direction of your life. Because here is what heaven wants you to understand next, and I need you to really sit with this. The signs are not the destination. They are the doorway. They are heaven's way of getting your attention so that something deeper can happen. A shift, a healing, a decision, a return to who you truly are. If you stop at simply noticing the sign without allowing it to change anything within you, you miss the point entirely. Heaven is not sending you feathers and numbers and songs just so you can collect proof that something exists beyond what you can see. Heaven is sending you these things so that you will finally, truly believe that you are guided, protected, and never alone. And so that belief will give you the courage to make the changes your soul has been begging you to make. Think about what has been sitting on your heart lately. Maybe it's a relationship you know deep down is not right for you, but you stay because leaving feels frightening. Maybe it's a career path you chose out of fear or obligation rather than passion, and every day feels like a slow erosion of your spirit. Maybe it's a wound from your past, something someone said or did to you that you have never fully allowed yourself to grieve or release. Heaven is not sending you signs to distract you from these things. Heaven is sending you signs to walk you toward the courage to finally face them. There is a reason so many people report seeing repeating numbers, especially in seasons of major life transition. These numbers are not magic in themselves. They are markers, gentle reminders placed along your path, saying, "You are exactly where you are meant to be, even if it doesn't feel like it." When you see these patterns appearing again and again, right when you are questioning a decision, right when you are doubting yourself, right when you feel most uncertain, that is not coincidence. That is confirmation. Heaven often speaks loudest in the moments we feel most lost, because that is precisely when we need reassurance the most. I want you to think about the times in your life when you felt most broken. The times you thought you would never recover, never smile again, never trust again. And yet here you are. You survived every single one of those moments. Every heartbreak that felt like it would end you, you walked through it and came out the other side. Different perhaps, softer in some places and stronger in others, but alive, breathing, still here. That is not an accident. That is not simply human resilience working alone. That is grace, quietly holding you together in moments you were too exhausted to hold yourself together. So many people wait for a single dramatic sign to prove that heaven exists, that angels are real, that they are watched over and loved. But heaven rarely works in one grand gesture. Instead, it works in accumulation, 1,000 small moments stacked gently on top of each other, each one easy to dismiss on its own, but undeniable when viewed together. The friend who called at the exact right moment. The song on the radio that answered the question you didn't say out loud. The stranger's kind words that mirrored your own private doubts. The unexplainable peace that settled over you in the middle of chaos. These are not separate, unrelated events. They are chapters of the same story, heaven's story, written specifically and lovingly for your life. If you have been feeling a persistent call towards something greater, a whisper that tells you your life has more purpose than your current circumstances reflect, please do not silence that whisper. So many people spend years, sometimes entire lifetimes, ignoring the quiet knowing inside them because it seems impractical, because others might not understand, because change feels terrifying. But heaven did not place that longing inside you by accident. That longing is a compass. It is pointing you toward the life you were always meant to live, the healed version of yourself, the awakened version of yourself, the version who finally trusts that she is guided every single step of the way. Let me tell you about a young man who, for years, ignored a persistent feeling that he needed to reconnect with his estranged father. Life had gotten busy, old wounds felt too heavy to revisit, and it always seemed easier to wait for someday. But the feeling never left him. It would surface in quiet moments, during long drives, in the stillness before sleep, always the same gentle nudge. Reach out, forgive, reconnect before it's too late. One evening, that nudge became so strong it felt impossible to ignore, so he finally picked up the phone. What he did not know was that his father had been diagnosed with a serious illness just days before, and had been too afraid to share the news. That single phone call, prompted by a feeling he almost dismissed 100 times, gave them months of healing, laughter, forgiveness, and closure they might never have had otherwise. When his father eventually passed, the son said the sign that pushed him to make that call was the greatest gift he had ever received, because he listened before it truly became too late. This is why this message matters so deeply. Heaven's signs are not there simply to comfort us in abstract spiritual ways. They are there to guide real decisions, real relationships, real turning points in our actual lives. Ignoring them is not just a missed spiritual experience. It can mean missed reconciliation, missed healing, missed love, missed peace. And while heaven's grace is endless and it is never too late to reconnect with the divine, some earthly moments are fleeting, some doors only stay open for a season, and this is precisely why the message today is so urgent. Listen before it's too late. Not because heaven will abandon you if you don't, but because life itself is asking you to wake up before certain chances slip quietly away. If you are sensing that this message applies to a specific situation in your life right now, a person, a decision, a change you have been avoiding, I want you to trust that feeling completely. You did not arrive at this video randomly. Somewhere deep inside, you already know what this message is pointing you toward. Maybe it's forgiving someone you have held resentment against for far too long. Maybe it's finally choosing yourself after years of shrinking to accommodate others. Maybe it's stepping into a purpose you have felt afraid to claim because it seems too big, too unconventional, too uncertain. Whatever it is, heaven is not asking you to have all the answers right now. Heaven is simply asking you to take one small step of trust, one small movement toward the whisper you have been ignoring. You do not need to understand the entire plan to take the first step. Faith rarely arrives with a full map. It arrives with just enough light to illuminate the very next step in front of you. And that is enough. That has always been enough. Heaven does not require you to have everything figured out. Heaven simply asks you to keep walking, trusting that the next sign will come exactly when you need it, just as this message came to you exactly when you needed it. As you move forward from this moment, I want you to make a quiet promise to yourself. Promise that the next time you feel that familiar pull, that gentle nudge, that unexplainable knowing, you will not brush it aside as nothing. You will pause. You will listen. You will honor the signs that heaven so lovingly places along your path, because every single one of them is evidence of a love that has never once stopped watching over you, guiding you, and believing in who you are becoming. You were led here today for a reason. Not by chance, not by accident, but by a love greater than you may fully understand yet. And if you take nothing else from this message, take this. You are seen, you are guided, and you are deeply, unconditionally loved, right here, right now, exactly as you are. Do not ignore this sign. Listen, before it's too late, because heaven has been waiting patiently for you to finally hear what it has been trying to tell you all along. And today, in this very moment, that message has finally found its way home to you.